Oops. Oops. There it is. First thing, I almost tip over the drinky birds. How could I be so thoughtless? Yeah. Look, it's a light. Maybe not so much light. There we go.
As you can see, we're getting ready to do This Is Now, and Drinky Bird Sentinels have arrived and are doing their thing.
With a little help. Yep. They're a little dry, don't you think?
No, they're fine. If you don't know about Drinky Birds are heat engines. Oh, I mentioned this last week.
Yeah, you did.
Yep.
It's a good thing.
And so they've been dampened. So they will work even without their drink, although they'll be wanting to drink before long. And I see that they agree.
Cheery. Well, we hope that you are well, and we thank you for joining us this fine morning. We'll give you a moment to gather together in the gathering together kind of way. Don't you think?
Yeah.
Oh, see now. Yeah. All right, you and the Drinky Birds go for a moment.
All right.
And I'll... Come on, old dog. Come on, old dog.
He's kind of crusty this morning.
There are we all. So, let's try this thing.
All right.
Look, I'll pull this forward like so. We'll angle like it. Morning.
Good morning. Shall we?
Please, let's.
All right. This is now Bridge to a Better World. I'm Theresa. This is Ani Raven. Big news this morning is that the Arizona audit farce has backfired, finding an additional 99 votes for Biden instead of confirming Trump's big lie that he had been the winner in that state. But press accounts say former President Donald Trump is accusing Democrats of seeking to distract from the release of the results of the so-called vote audit in Arizona. And as you may know, the count has been fraught with errors. Not surprising, since the group doing it has never done any such thing. Trump seems to be unaware that the details of the audit.
These are the people who hid the ballots and or copies or information in some shed in Wyoming or Montana. They had taken the people who were doing the audit.
Yes, this is the Bamboo Fibers group.
So many pieces of information coming out about how they were conducting said audit.
That. He seems to be unaware. The audit had confirmed that President Joe Biden was the winner. And that's the sort of thing that happens when you are a belligerent blowhard who won't let anyone give you bad news. accused the House of Representatives Commission investigating Capitol, which on Thursday, yesterday, aides of the president, saying he said the move was timed to distract from the expected release today of the results of the so-called audit. But as we know now, well, it's not what he thought it was. From France 24, pardon me, global warming is already affecting people's health. So much that emergency action on climate change cannot be put on hold while the world deals with the COVID-19 pandemic. That's according to medical journals across the globe earlier this week, quoting an editorial published in more than 220 leading journals ahead of the COP26 climate summit, which is coming up in November. Quote, health is already being harmed by global temperature increases and the destruction of the natural world, end quote. Since the pre-industrial era, temperatures have risen about 1.1 degrees Celsius or 3.4 degrees Fahrenheit. The editorial in over a dozen journals, including The Lancet, said this had caused a plethora of health problems. It's quoted saying, in the past 20 years, heat-related mortality among people older than 65 years has increased by more than 50%, end quote. And also quoting, it says, higher temperatures have brought increased dehydration and renal function loss, dermatological malignancies, tropical infections, adverse mental health outcomes, pregnancy complications, allergies, and cardiovascular and pulmonary morbidity and mortality, end quote. Also pointing to the decline in agricultural production, hampering efforts to reduce undernutrition. These effects, which hit those most vulnerable, like minorities, children, and poor communities hardest, are just the beginning, it warned. Meanwhile, an article in Mother Jones notes that Facebook is pushing climate disinformation hard, with ads reaching 8 million viewers recently, even as Facebook claims to be acting otherwise. A pretty familiar act from Facebook.
How could they be possibly allowing disinformation? I thought they were cracking down on stuff like that.
Yeah.
What kind of disinformation is it?
Facebook mendacity, who knew? Bernie Sanders says the reconciliation bill, which also addresses the climate, will raise taxes on the billionaire class and make corporations start to pay their fair share in taxes to fund its programs. The current estimates of the bill's spending is $3.5 trillion over 10 years, while the Pentagon is slated to receive $7.5 trillion over the same period. People criticizing the bill often quote the $3.5 trillion as if it were a shocking price, failing to mention that it is over 10 years. So in other words, it's $350 billion per year, while the Pentagon, is getting $750 billion per year.
And, when they say they just can't find the money, look at what they can find the money for easily when they need to. And I'm saying they when I mean the moderate, the liberal, frankly, and the conservative aspects of our Congress. Aside from the progressive voices, we're hearing, oh gosh, this is just extravagant. We can't possibly invest this kind of money. We just, gosh, don't have this kind of money.
We've all been well trained to think that insanity is normal.
And to that end, yeah, we'll talk more about that a little later. But just to that end, I believe they found $1 billion to provide support to Israel for the Iron Dome in the last few days. So, you can find money easily when it suits your paradigm,
the Pentagon,
your purposes.
Sure.
But to actually uplift the people, well, I think Bernie had that stirring speech, right? The stirring speech to his fellow senators where he was lambasting them. I mean, I love Bernie's haranguing style. Oh, heaven forfend, we should actually do something on this floor that would help the people. And I just thought that was it was a good underscore.
And the corporate news media still does its part to make him look like a flake. He mentioned that this relief bill, the reconciliation bill, as it's called, will extend $300 direct as child tax payments. Pardon me. It will provide support for childcare with the aim of making sure no family pays more than 7% of their annual income for childcare. It will also expand the availability of childcare by increasing the wages of care workers and pay for the construction of more facilities. It will create free universal pre-K for 3 and 4-year-old children. Very important. 2 years of free tuition at community colleges. Think of that. It supports the creation of affordable housing very directly. It has direct funding to support people in need of medical assistance to be able to continue living in their homes and make sure home health care aides are paid decent wages. And that's something I pay attention to as it gets harder to crawl out of bed every morning. It will expand Medicare to cover dental procedures, eyeglasses, and hearing aids. It guarantees up to 3 weeks of paid family and sick leave for all workers. And it makes massive investments in having the United States lead the world in combating climate change and lowering greenhouse gas emissions. So you can imagine that the corporate-owned Democrats and the corporate, what's a more severe word than owned, corporate crazy Republicans absolutely hate this bill and is having great difficulty in passing, with Sinema and Manchin particularly standing in the way of their fellow Democrats.
Indeed. It just makes no dang sense, right? Well, it does if you think that the system itself is actually designed to self-protect and self-replicate. It makes perfect sense. The idea that the system's not working because all of this very bad stuff is happening misses the point that the system is designed to work just so. And so that's sort of where I want to go this morning with a little discussion.
All right, take it from there.
And I want to thank Theresa, my beloved of these 27 years in and more and beyond, because her back's hurting and she wasn't feeling so good this morning, and she wanted to not actually come into the next room and set up in front of the camera, and I'm like, but honey, headlines, we got to do the thing, come on. So she did. So bless you, Theresa. And so what I wanted to talk about more was the fact that we are living in this world where the system is designed to do the things that we are seeing around us, right? The system is designed to produce massive inequality. The system is designed to produce the violence that we see. The system is designed to destroy the earth. And so that's sort of what I want to talk about. In this world that is hell-bent on apathy, in this world where the gears of industry are relentlessly grinding us and the earth into dust, into the gold that lines the pocket of the ultra-rich, is it such a bad thing to misbehave? I'm going to go ahead and ask us to think about that and actually go ahead and commit to misbehaving. The confines of a polite society are such that they uphold the status quo, right? There are constraints in what we're supposed to talk about and what we're supposed to think, the attitudes we're supposed to have. And I know most of the people watching right now are already kind of used to misbehaving, I'm going to guess. And that's cool. But let's push ourselves to actually misbehave a little further and actually push the boundaries of polite society. I'm going to say overall, subjects that we're really allowed to get into with each other are like the weather, right? But only if you don't use data. You just stick to the observable facts. Like, oh, it's weather we're having.
Oh, and CNN is terrible about that. I noticed that when they were reporting the whipping of the Asian immigrants, they carefully.
Immigrants?
What did I say?
Asian, I think. But it's maybe it was just I heard maybe.
No, Haitian is what I meant to say.
Yeah, I think it's probably
whipping Haitian immigrants. They carefully edited the tape away from the worst part so that you didn't see the whip striking, and that's what drives you to change, is to seeing the true cruelty.
Right, you're right. It's actually taking back the curtain, right? But we're allowed to talk about superficial topics. We're allowed to talk about things like, these days, only so long as we only have a sort of vague sense of nostalgia about how much things better were before these days. But we can't actually analyze what problems were with those halcyon days either, because then we're just, stirring up trouble and making people uncomfortable. There's always sports talk. We can talk about sports, pro or college sports, limited to the performance of the team and not any of their stances on the national anthem, or nor any manner of gender discussion like sports equity for women's teams, or defining gender and admitting that transgender people exist and should be playing on the teams that align with their gender identity, and all that kind of stuff. We don't get into those details. We just say yeah or nay, right? Go sports, or damn that team. We're allowed to talk about religion, but only with the people that we actually go to the same church with, because otherwise we're probably going to get into trouble there too. And we can talk about work as long as we keep it vague. Got a case of the Mondays, the office space, water cooler talk, if you will.
And you can't discuss salaries.
Yeah,
that would reveal that the women are not paid as much.
Absolutely. Never, ever discuss wages. That is right out. I had a job. The job I had before the community radio station was a little book distribution company. And in that job, right before I left, I decided to start talking about how much I made, which wasn't so much above minimum wage after 4 years. And I found out most single women made about what I made. If you had some sort of bit more posh credential, you might make a bit more. If you were the immigrant woman, on the other hand, you made less. If you were the man with a family, you made a hell of a lot more. A hell of a lot. It was still book industry standards, but still substantially more than the rest. And just by myself actually going around and asking folks what they made, first there was that little gasp of, I don't know that I should tell you. I'm not comfortable sharing this kind of information. I was like, well, why? And as soon as, I started sharing mine and I got a couple other people to share, there was a little groundswell. And that wasn't that long ago. Okay, it was 25 years ago. It's true, because I'm old now. But work. Yeah, we can talk about work. Just keep it vague. And, you can actually talk about work outside of work too, because work is that thing that makes us productive members of our society. It gives us worth, right? We can also talk about the cost of living, but only in a vague sort of complainy kind of way. And we can't actually, again, have any analysis as to how things are going right or wrong and why the cost of living is doing the things it's doing. So the limitations of polite society really work to curtail, the discourse and what is acceptable to talk about and what is not. And I'm going to encourage us to share fanciful notions as a revolutionary act. I'm gonna dare folks to actually question out loud with your mouth and words, why do we have the landlord-tenant system? I want people to actually start talking about private property, not just being theft. That's sort of, I think, misses the point. Private property, the idea that one can own land because somebody's given you a piece of paper, is hilarious if it didn't have such real world consequences. I can write anything I want to on this piece of paper, hand it to Theresa, and it's worth that piece of paper, right? I mean, sure, there's contract law and all of that stuff, but what right do I have to buy and sell the earth? The earth was here before me. It's going to go on after me. It ain't mine to give. And so I want people to start questioning things like that out loud with each other, with folks that don't think like us. It's interesting to watch minds pop. I know that, again, these are probably not new ideas for most of you watching, but I know for myself, there's long periods of time where I don't really enter these thoughts into conversations outside of our circles, right? But when we do that, we expand the discourse. We expand what is possible. We have other people starting to think, like, that's just wacky. You can't possibly mean, oh, maybe what would happen if, right? And so the idea is, Jello Biafra has a spoken word album from the 90s, and it's called I Blow Minds for a Living. That's what I want us to do, my friends. I want us to blow minds. Okay, so what else? I want us to ask questions like why there are so many empty buildings when we have tent cities popping up in every available corner and alley and underpass in the city. I want to ask why we have apartments, houses, and office buildings with space and emptiness when we see that there are people in dire need of shelter. I want to ask why that's allowed. I want us all to ask these questions. I want to ask questions like, what intrinsic value does a corporation have? Can it tuck you in at night? Can it laugh with you? Can you walk in the park with the corporation? Can you at least even eat the damn thing?
It will take a crap on the commons.
It does. It craps on the commons all the time. That is the one function of the corporation. Oh, what gives the corporation any value or meaning? All of us agreeing to the legal fiction that it has value and meaning, and then providing our life and labor to it for a pittance so we can actually buy the shelter referred to in paragraph 1. All right, so it's a nice little closed loop. So let's start talking about that. Let's actually, with our words, talk to people that may not think like us and just throw ideas into a conversation. It's kind of fun to see how you can work them in around the edges and then just sort of see the effects that it may or may not have. Just to say, I want us to, question why there's not ample opportunity to relieve oneself in when you're outside of your house, right? We all have human bodily needs. I was traveling not too long ago with my mother, and we had needs to use a bathroom, right? And it was amazing. It was amazing to see how far we had to go to have a woman in her 70s use a restroom to relieve herself. Like it's, a white woman in her 70s couldn't find a place to pee for a long time. Why is that? Because, well, we can't have public restrooms. People might use them. People who might not have homes might use them and have some shred of dignity. Oh, they also could be used by people who want to take drugs. They could be used by, they might be, so I have noticed we do have porta-johns, honey buckets popping up here and there around the city.
Because it went too far, Can I jump in on that?
You can. I was just to finish that sentence. They're not enough. It's a really inadequate amount. But these are the questions we have to ask. Why can't we have adequate places to pee when we need to pee and maintain our dignity, whether we have a house or not have a house, whether we're a 70-year-old white woman or, anyone else? Please jump in.
I know that you're asking questions rather than answering questions.
That's
but it just gets me thinking about the commons. We've been trained to believe that there's this thing called the tragedy of the commons, and that's all lined out. And I could go into that, but it's a load of crap. It takes a poorly defined situation and arrives at a false conclusion. The fact is, the commons is part of what makes us human. And when we lose the commons, we become more atomized and more alienated and more a bunch of clueless assholes. Within my lifespan, the idea of the commons has constricted and constricted. For example, water fountains were everywhere. They were in public. They were in buildings. You didn't have a decent building unless it had a good functioning water fountain. And that was part of the commons. You offered water. Now you have to buy water in little plastic sleeves. Otherwise, you'll find it difficult to get water. And the only remnant I see of that is the Benson bubblers around Portland, and those are viewed as antique fountains. No one puts their mouth on them because they don't understand that they are continually self-cleaning and were intended to be so. The idea of the commons used to extend to food. It wasn't largely discussed. It was simply accepted. You offered food much more broadly than you do now. food wasn't constricted as it is. If someone went to your house, you rather expected to offer them some food.
Hospitality, basic hospitality.
Yes. More than that, if you knew that there were some hobos passing by, you put out some food for them.
And again, we're seeing that there are some people who are doing this, and that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There are free boxes. There are the free libraries that are also turning into free pantries, that are turning into free needful things cupboards, with supplies for hygiene, with supplies for various foods and books and activity books. I saw toys in one the other day, and I love this spirit of sharing that is opening. But let's question why. Why this is. Let's question why there are so many people
it's part of making
who have nothing.
Yeah, it's part of making us miserable little units who share nothing, and therefore have nothing. And we don't even have faces to look in for a confirmation that we exist. That's the idea of spraying us all out into suburbs where you don't know each other and provide nothing for each other. It's not a gain; it's a loss. Okay, I'm done with my rant now.
Are you?
Yeah.
I was making emoji comments. Sorry, I'm back. I'm back. And so, there I am back. Where was I? Thanks for that. It is all true. So I want to again ask us all to broaden that discourse, and I want us to wonder out loud at hypocrisies when we see them, to actually sort of call them out. I use humor a lot. I think that things go better with humor than with sticks, although sometimes the humor is kind of pokey. Still, I usually try that. But everyone has their own style, right? So figure it out. What's your style of revolutionary discourse? What's your style of thought crime? I like to think that I like to sort of treat absurdities as if they were absurd. And so I laugh at things a lot. And sometimes it's inappropriate, I suppose, to the person, not laughing at the person, but just then going, what, you're not in on that joke? You don't actually see through that lie? Oh, got it. And let's help each other out. Let's help each other see more clearly. I think that treating the absurdities around us as if they were the absurdities that they are, as opposed to these, I don't know, real fictions, corporations and the laws that support them, these beliefs that keep us under the rule of this system, under the yoke, in the yoke. I'll find that phrase, I don't know, about 10 minutes after we stop the video camera, probably. I think that role is actually one that used to be held by the Jester, right? And I think what I'm asking us all to do is to become the jesters we want to see in the world. That we need to have people that will actively say the emperor is wearing no clothes. But beyond that, we got pretty good at that with Trump, right? It was he took buffoonery to such a level that the rest of the world went along with it, mainstream media and all. But now we're in a place where things are a bit more subtle. The cruelty is still absolutely there, but it's a bit more, I won't say subtle to the people experiencing it, but we don't have much of the mainstream media pointing it out anymore, right? We have to do it for ourselves. We actually have to see that there's the same cruelties going on in this post-Trump world that we have been fighting to that end. Biden's administration has deported 12 plane loads of Haitian immigrants, as Theresa was mentioning in the headlines, and they're looking to do that again in the next week. And this is cruel, and so we need to call it out, and we need to be as loud about it as ever we were during the Trump's administration. All right, so where do I want to go from here?
So you're saying be the Bernie Sanders that walks up and kicks Joe Manchin in the crock. Oh, ding dong, ring your bell there, didn't I? Ding dong, climate change is here.
Okay.
Yeah, made you laugh, didn't I?
Yeah. There's a thought. So I want to also say, I guess the United States is really anything but united. The air is totally pregnant with the question of where do we go from here. And I certainly don't have answers to that. But, there's those that want to simply try to plaster over the ruins of the last 6 years and pray it holds up for like another 10. Because maybe by then something else will happen and Jesus will come in the clouds, or we'll be too old to care, or I don't know. And so do we, just sort of cynically think, well, it's just too fucked up and there's really nothing we can do. So we might as well just enjoy ourselves and not try. I guess there's that. So those things are unsatisfying to me, really. And so what I guess I'm proposing is we try like hell to find solutions while we slow down harm, while we try to find more solutions to slow the harm down more. And then while we are doing that, we actually rewrite the rules to the whole damn game. And we no longer give corporations the legal fictionhood of being people. And we recognize that buying and selling parcels of the earth is preposterous. And we rewrite the whole damn game. I think we have a rare opening right now. There's a large swath of the population at this moment that actually sees the corruption that is capitalism. There is a little opening where there's folks that actually see the lie that is behind the system. And I think that percentage is larger now than I've ever noticed it before in my life.
Like Reddit, which is largely a white male forum, has just utterly changed in that regard over the last several years. The last 4 years, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, these folks are seeing the obscenity that is Jeff Bezos riding his penis rocket into not quite outer space for billions of dollars for an 11-minute joyride, while he denies human beings that work for him, that make the money that he just spent on an 11-minute joyride in not quite outer space on a rocket that's shaped more like a penis than even his own head. He denies those workers the right or the time to pee. I'm a little fixated on bathrooms apparently this morning, but I mean, of all the things, to squeeze every last iota of profit that you can extract, that you can exploit from another human being, regardless of how miserable and how degraded they will be from it, because you can. Because there are laws that say that's good and you win. You are the winner in this society when you do that, and you get to ride your penis rocket to near space. Congratulations. Then we live in a society that's gone terribly, terribly wrong, right? We see the devastating effects of climate change. We know it's made by humans. We know it's made specifically by the fossil fuel industry and the politicians that support them. We know that there's cruelty throughout the U.S. medical system. There's the racist violence of the police. There's white supremacy. This whole fucking stinking lot that has been boiling in our society, has been dangerously overexposed during the pandemic. We've had a lot more downtime than we're used to because of the record unemployment, because of people being ill, because of people needing to deal with so many overlapping emergencies. People have started to see through the curtain in ways we haven't before. And so that's why I want to say we have a little opening right now that we don't usually have. And I think we need to push. And I think we need to push hard right now. And we push by broadening the discourse, by firing up people's imaginations, by encouraging each other to see through fictions, by emphasizing what's real, until we have such a chorus that we can actually move forward and dare to rewrite some of the basic rules of our society, right? We have to move forward. And so I started out, asking us to break rules, to be thought criminals. And I really want us to do that because we have to come up with better ways to do things. We are, anything but a United States of America. And I think that we are, as Theresa and I have talked about in weeks past, on the precipice of civil war. We know shots have been fired. We live in a city that is regularly targeted for rallies of the alt-right, white supremacists, so that they can come here and, quote, own the libs. And again, as we're saying, these are armed protests. And now shots have been fired recently over the last year. Independent journalists have been attacked in the Northwest. There has,
I want to add to that.
Yeah, please.
You got to understand, this is a point that I haven't seen made, but which I'm convinced of. So pardon me while I rant. Those gunshot incidents around town, the hundreds of gunshots, the increase in gunshot crime, the murders, that is conservative, pro-Trump police laying down on the job on purpose to hurt you, to punish you for being anti-Trump. Think about that. They are very deliberately, measurably, provably on a slowdown strike. They are cynically allowing violence to increase in the city. They're not making those arrests. They're not tracking the drive-by shooters because they want us to hurt. And that's the same. It doesn't matter if you pay Guido to kill Bob. It's the same as if you killed Bob. And that's what they're doing. The Portland police are killing us, and they have to stop. And you need to contact the Portland City Council. You got to call Wheeler. He doesn't want to hear it, but you got to call. Joanne Hardesty and give your support to her, because she is a lone voice against this police violence. And I really want to make that point. The violence that has increased in this town is police violence. It's one step removed, and they've dodged behind the curtain so you don't see what they're doing, but they're shooting you. Okay, thanks.
Also, Total Recall PDX, right? And I believe that is the website for.
And you know what? I have to go lay down.
Okay. I see your note,
Yeah.
but then you ranted, so
I
was a little confused.
I know. I am a confusing kind of person sometimes.
Oh, bless. Feel better, honey.
Thank you.
I'll just sort of maybe wrap this up. If you are in Portland, do understand that Wheeler is under recall, and I do believe that website is Total Recall PDX. But you can just, look that up. Because Ted Wheeler, what's he done for us lately? Don't get me started. He's done plenty. Where do I go from here? Aside from making Theresa some tea, let's just say we can pretty much predict a trajectory, right, of what's happening, and we can pretty much predict where it goes if we respond in kind. And so I want to sort of change the trajectory. I want to change the vibe. I love Pop Mob PDX. I love Pop Mob PDX and their creative answers to the energy that is present with those white supremacist pop-up rallies that happen here. And for folks not familiar, there's often folks that have organized a response that looks like a dance party with people in unicorn costumes who may or may not have milkshakes. Stuff. stuff that is fun um, in answer to the hatred that is being brought. And I guess this is what I'm saying, because I don't want us to focus on civil war, shooting war. I think people who, I hear that idealized sometimes, um, and we create our own realities, and that energy is just more of that energy, right? We cannot. We have to be outside of that, and that's why I'm encouraging the Jester approach. That's why I'm encouraging us to actually talk with each other and connect heart-wise, so that we can share ideas and explore new boundaries in what makes the society functional, like housing for all, like having basic needs met, like skill sharing freely in a gift economy, like having some sort of maximum ratio between those that are paid the least and those that are paid the most. There are so many ways that we can, in fact, try to pull it together and remake things. So many ways. I want us to reach out and just sort of, again, we don't have to come up with the answers right away. I just want us to ask the questions, because we're not used to helping each other think. And first, we have to ask those questions, and then, we can come up with solutions that maybe don't look like something that's replicating what we already have. All right. So we're heading into darker times, literally, because we've just passed the equinox and winter is coming, as they say. As the nights grow longer, let yourself dream of the world you want to live in, right? We are in this half of the year, in my tradition, we look at the time from the fall equinox to the winter solstice as a time of inward turning, as the nights lengthen, as we spend more times, usually longer evenings, perhaps in a more contemplative place. And if you're not more contemplative now, perhaps this is something to look at. Yes, in fact, Reviving the Merry Pranksters is exactly it. Portland Pop Mob, I think, has that energy and on for the next 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. Okay, so I want us to actually engage this fall, this winter, in dreaming and dreaming of the world we want to live in. I want us to really think about and imagine what would make the world function for that precious 4-year-old in your life. Be they the child, your own child, or the child of your friends, or but think of that precious 4-year-old, niece, nephew, grandkid. Think of what would make the world absolutely perfect and good for your cat, for your really super cool neighbor that you love and you want to see happy. What would make the world perfect for your parents? What would make it a delightful society for your 23-year-old niece to live in, right? Because we have to actually think about what would make society work for everyone and not just for people like me or you. And so as we engage in dreaming, let's dream about a world that is actually inclusive and joyful for us all. What will that take? And let's dream about it together through this winter. And let's converse about it with each other here in this space. Leave your comments on this video. And also, let's find more spaces to have these discussions with each other, and then outside as well, popping these ideas into the conversations we have with the person at the grocery store, with the person that we might see as we're having a cup of coffee outside in a park 6 feet away from anyone else, but to have these conversations. Because it's really time to make the world anew. this one's hurting, and we need to help. We are currently in the waning gibbous moon, and that moon is in Taurus. This is a time to really focus on gratitude and giving thanks. And so that really ties into a lot of my thoughts. We've just passed the fall equinox, and that is all about giving thanks, and actually harvesting our intentions, harvesting our work, and benefiting from the fruits of our labor. And so as we are in the gibbous moon, looking at paring down and finishing up projects, it's a fabulous time to tidy up and put things in order. It's a good time to cull, and it's a wonderful time to sort of also think about engaging your senses in a way that's pleasing, and simplifying, sort of a simple sensuality, I think, is highlighted. Anyway, there's also the tarot for the day, and I will share with you what I've gotten from that using the Cat Tarot deck. Today we have the Queen of Pentacles, the Eight of Pentacles, and the Knight of Cups. And so what we have basically is saying that we are working hard. And again, for folks that haven't seen this before, what I do is, it's impossible to read for all of the individual folks that would maybe see this video now and later. And so this is sort of an overview of the current vibe, the energies coming at us over the next week to watch and ride and take advantage of, or avoid, if we can. And there's not a lot of avoidance this week. We're looking at the Queen of Pentacles, which is really about hard work and nurturance. There is a wonderful sort of natural authority. So in terms of energy coming at us, I would say that it feels very supportive. It feels very connected. It feels very, again, rewarding for efforts. Putting work and thought and care and nurturance into something feels like it will be supported and have a better chance of not getting tipped over, if you will. The Eight of Pentacles basically is talking about that same thing. Queen of Pentacles also would mention, don't let yourself get bored. So there's a lot of sort of activity, and you want to sort of take advantage of that. Downtime, sure, it's not all about work, but it's about activity. It's about even play, but being active. The Eight of Pentacles is really again about rewards. It's about, as the Cat Tarot says, you have earned the big dish of anchovies that is now in front of you. And so to think about the universe supporting our efforts, actually, for a change, I won't say for a change. It just feels like, you're with me, right? It's been a bit of an uphill slog. And so this feels like very supportive energy. It feels, again, like a recognition of the hard work and intentionality that is there. And so hard work, intentionality, efforts should feel better supported at this time. And then the Knight of Cups, tapping into the wisdom of our hearts and really knowing that we can't, it's that there's a balance, that there's a mixing, not so much a balance, but a harmonizing of the heart and the will to really assess where we put our efforts, where we put our hard work. Does it feed our hearts? If it doesn't, it's probably not the right place to put our efforts. That's part of what the wisdom of our hearts tells us. And so the night is taking on the lessons of inner knowledge, the lessons of unwrapping our emotions, and is, as the card would say, rather diving headlong into that wisdom, tapping into the wisdom of the heart. And so this is, it's Theresa from bed. And so this is a way then to have a yardstick, to have a measure of where to put efforts this week, which efforts will be supported. And again, I feel very strongly that the efforts based in our emotions, in our hearts, knowing clearly where our desires are the efforts that will be supported. Okay, that's what I have for folks. I am so happy Theresa has been able to comment then from bed. And thank you all for joining us this morning. Please do hit the like button on this video, subscribe to our channel if you haven't, and share the word. You can also find us in the Twitterverse. You can find this podcast together. We are at Bridge to the numeral 2 Utopia on Twitter. You can also find myself on Twitter. I'm at Ani_Raven. And Theresa, I believe, is at PressWatch Now. And so you can find us on Twitter. You can also find us on SoundCloud, where we are. This is now Bridge to Another World, and Theresa will post the audio. There's much audio posted there. And of course, here on YouTube. You can also find us on Instagram. All right. Thanks so much for being. You can also find my new Patreon site. If, in fact, you are interested in supporting our efforts, you can check out Patreon, and that would be patreon.com/AniRavenHaynes. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. And please keep the conversation going with each other and out there in the world. Be positively revolting. Be a revolutionary thinker and converser. We love you.